Welcome to some great information here from PowerBI.tips. We're doing yet another quick tip today. Today with me, I have some wonderful friends from the Microsoft team. We're going to be talking about the TMDL view now arriving in Power BI Desktop as of a couple days ago. This was just recently released here in January. So let me bring on some of my friends here. Rui, welcome. Very happy to have you on the show. Matt, I've never met you before in person and video, so thank you very much for attending. This is wonderful to meet you. Rui is the, I'm going to get this, hope I get this right, the program manager, product manager of things around Power BI Desktop. This is an area of work that you're doing, and Matt is the lead engineer, or the engineering lead for the team that's developing the actual solution. So Matt, thank you very much for producing this feature. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, and glad to be here. And I like to say that I'm usually the guy with the ideas, the dreamer, and Matt team is are actually the guys that make it work and build it. And they did an amazing job with this with the TMDL view. I'm really excited to see what you guys will do with it and share it more with you all.
This feature has only been out a couple days. It was just recently released in the January 2025 desktop release. It feels like this was an Amazon Wish present that we got. So, Rui, you were probably working very hard to deliver this for Christmas. We didn't quite get there. Amazon was a little bit delayed, and looks like we get a late Christmas present here with TMDL Editor. I think this is going to be one of the main features of 2025 that have been released. This is physically going to change how people build semantic models. This is fundamentally going to shift how people work in desktop. So I'm really excited about this. Without any further ado, I'll throw up your share screen here, Rui.
Yeah, for sure. I do believe that this is probably one of the most, if not the most significant feature we released in the last 2 years for the pro dev persona. I also want to make it clear that this feature was mainly designed with the pro dev in mind. So the persona that likes control, that likes to be efficient, that I like to say that it's lazy by default. So whenever you have something that you need to do 50 times, okay, let's automate that. Let's script that. Let's find better ways to do it. But it can also be used by no-code or low-code users or business analysts, because you have a reusability aspect, a really nice way for you to share scripts and share semantic model objects using TMDL view. Okay, so let's go straight into a demo and what you can do with TMDL view. So first, you need to enable it. It's a preview feature. So whenever after you install the January release of Power BI Desktop, you will see a new preview feature showing up in here. It's called TMDL view. You enable this, and after you enable it and you restart Power BI Desktop, you will see that you will get a new tab on the left, and this is TMDL view. And just like DAX query view that shipped last year, TMDL view is also a code editor. But unlike DAX query view, it's not about DAX, it's about TMDL. And it's not about writing queries and executing queries. It's about scripting semantic model objects and making changes to those semantic model objects if you want, using the TMDL language. And when you open the first time, you will see that you get a blank code editor with some watermark text in here, just as an example. But what you can do is you can start scripting semantic model objects. And one example of a semantic model, like for example, if you want to see the semantic model definition of a measure, all you need to do is you go to the data pane on the right, and you can drag the object to the code editor. When you do that, you will see a TMDL script, and I will talk about TMDL scripts in a minute. But you'll see a TMDL script to the full definition of the object that you dragged, and you can do this for one object. You can do this for multiple objects. So I can select multiple measures and I can do exactly the same thing, and this will create another script in a new tab. So you will see that every time you script something, you get a tab in the bottom, just like as well like DAX query view. But we retain and we save in the file all the tabs that you script with all the objects that you selected. So you can and you can also, instead of drag and drop, you can also do right click and you have the script TMDL2. You can script it to the clipboard, and you can also script tab, and does exactly the same thing. And again, so when you script the object, you see the full definition of the semantic model object with all its properties. So in case of a measure, you see the DAX measure, and you see all the properties that represent the measure, including the format string, the lineage tag, everything else, everything that is configured for that measure. Now, this is not just TMDL. This is TMDL scripts, and a TMDL script is basically, and let me script the table just to make it more clear. So a TMDL script is basically it's composed with a command, which is for the public preview. We only support one command, which is a create or replace. We will have other commands. We will have alter, drop, rename, refresh commands, just like the TMDL scripts. But for now, we only support the create or replace. And then in another level of indentation, you have the TMDL definition of the object. Just like when you save as a PBIP and you go and you see the table definition, the table file, you will see that you won't see the create or replace because it's not a script, it's the actual definition of the table. In the TMDL script, you have the command and you have the full definition. It's exactly the same code as if you open the file of the PBIP. And one very interesting aspect of TMDL view is, even if you do not care about making changes, just the fact that we let you script and view any object and just explore your semantic model and explore all the properties of your semantic model, including things that are not even visible in desktop, can be very useful. So you can view the annotations, you can view properties that are not even editable in Power BI desktop, and of course you can also make changes to it. But you can view things like the expression or the Power Query expression of a table, and this can be very useful because, let's say, you want to look into the Power Query expression of a table, of this table, and you just want to look into it, make some analysis into the code, or you want to take this expression and copy it elsewhere. So you don't need to go to the Power Query editor, open the Power Query editor, that will always take a few seconds, and go to the advanced editor and copy that. So this is, you can just script the table and look into the definition of the Power Query and copy it, or even make a change if you like. So just this aspect of exploring your semantic model definition with full detail, and we are not hiding anything. So again, the TMDL view is mostly for pro devs. It's for users that want to have full control and have full visibility into the semantic model. We are not hiding anything. So we are not hiding objects that desktop cannot edit. So we are going to show you everything by default. And another very interesting aspect of TMDL view is there are objects that you don't even have an editor today in Power BI desktop. Actually, if you go to our documentation, we need to force you to tell you to use an external tool to create such an object, like a perspective. And with TMDL view, you can just script a perspective, just like you script any other object. So you have the perspectives here in the Model Explorer, and you can drag it, and you'll see the perspective definition. And the same thing goes for translation. So if you want to see the translation or create a new translation, you can also use TMDL view for that. And last but not least, if you want to see the full semantic model, you can also do it. You can script the full semantic model, and you get the full semantic model with the entire definition script into a new tab. That again, you can copy this and you can apply it in another model if you want.
a couple quick observations here, really. So one, I saw Matt grimace here a little bit halfway through your talk there. You were talking about additional actions that were coming, and I thought this really funny. I thought, oh boy, Rui's already work for Matt to do. So Matt, I already thank you very much for creating the first action of create or replace, but I think you've already teed up a lot of extra work for other actions that are coming. So that was kind of funny there in the beginning.
Oh yeah, we got plenty coming. There's a lot of things we want to do with this. There's a lot of things. If you saw some of the demos that we did previously, like from FabCon, we got Copilot coming.
Excellent.
We want to make this just like GitHub Copilot for developers. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming. This is just the beginning of it.
I want to also point out a couple of things here that I think you pointed out, Rui, and Matt, you're probably also thinking about as well. As I'm looking at some of these properties here, for those who are not very familiar with the TMDL format, this is a YAML-like structure. There's no brackets or braces. It's a lot easier for us to edit this code here. But Matt and Rui, this is all based off of the model.json, or the BIM file that describes how the semantics of a tabular model, which is also in the TMDL, tabular semantic model language. What's this based off of?
Tabular model scripting language, but actually it's not like that. So the TMDL is not based on TMSL. So yes. TMSL and TMDL, they are both a serialization, an output format from an analysis services database, and it's the tabular object model that is responsible and able to script a semantic model from AS or from analysis services or Power BI into either TMDL or TMSL.
Gotcha. Okay, I think that's a good distinction to make here as well.
It's like, just to give you an example, it's like you serialize or you output something into JSON or XML.
Yes. Okay.
You have both choices, or CSV or Excel.
And I prefer this TMDL format way better. It's very easy to read. And also, I noticed here, Rui, there's some comments also in here. There's 3 slashes of green in front of some of these items here. So I see there on line 12, where your cursor is, there's actually a line of green there. If you don't maybe zoom in on that one, adding comments on your existing documentation inside your model is actually extremely easy. I love this feature just alone of being able to add comments to tables, columns, measures. All of that exists in a very easy way, and it's easy, and multi-line too, right? So you can add multi-lines without reporting the issues right inside the tool. Don't worry, Matt. This is not going on your review.
That's all right.
It's still in preview. We're okay. It's allowed to have some messages there, but this is really cool. And then other things I note here that I don't see in desktop normally is the lineage tag. What is that for, Rui? Is that just part of the model language there as well?
So the lineage tag is part of the semantic model definition. So every semantic model object has a lineage tag. Actually, and I don't know, Matt, if you can help me out and sharing on the script a link, but we for the first time, I think, we in early January or late December, we shipped a new documentation article that explains what lineage tags are and what they do and why they are needed for. So basically, the lineage tag. So every object has a lineage tag. So if you build, let's say, a composite model, and you make a change into a measure, you build a composite model and you reference another semantic model in the service, and you make a change to that composite model, then the lineage tag is how we know that, okay, we are able to retain your changes, and we know that okay, you changed something on the measure products from in your composite model, but it's referencing another measure in another semantic model, and this is the lineage tag, and we use it for that. But we have a good documentation article that explains all about it.
I think
ultimately you need to have a lineage tag for each. You need to have a unique lineage tag for each collection, for each object inside a collection.
So I think I found the article. It's on the Microsoft Learning documentation. I put a link here in the chat window just in case people are interested in looking at that. I'll also add this link to the description for people who may want to catch this later on. Rui, do we need to build, like if we're scripting things out here inside the TMDL editor, do we need to build lineage tags, or does the desktop application, if I don't have them, does it automatically add them for me later on?
So you don't need to care about lineage tags, at least on the creation. So let's say, let me script something and let's create a new measure in here. And let's remove the lineage tag. So I don't care about lineage tags. If you create a new measure, we will create a new measure for you. So it will be created successfully. So no problems here. But if you now go and you script that measure, you will see that the new measure will get the lineage tag. So the Power BI desktop automatically adds the lineage tag for you.
Awesome. That's amazing. Okay, good. So you're going to give me some help around using this TMDL editor. I don't have to be an expert of every single property. Desktop's going to give me some assistance to make sure that I'm building the proper language that the analysis services will need to interpret later on.
Yeah. So and that's a good follow-up to what I was going to talk next. So you had Sid last year. You had Sid on the channel talking about the TMDL extension for VS Code and
yes.
How we use it in the Power BI project.
Hmm?
So we actually reused, and it's exactly the same language server that we use in VS Code. We reuse that into in TMDL view. So this means that you will get things like expand and collapse of the TMDL document. So this is not just a plain text. So you can use expand and collapse to better organize and have a better view of your TMDL code, especially if it is a big file. You get IntelliSense. So if you don't know which property you want to add to the measure, you can just do control space and you get autocomplete out of the box. And if you make a mistake, like you've called is hidden, you put something like this, or you put a wrong data type like text in here, you will get a squiggle. And also, you also get, just like VS Code, you also get a problem pane. And we will tell you whenever you have something wrong with your script, what's the location when that something is wrong. And you can even navigate through the code and the errors. And every tab has their own and isolated problems pane. So we don't have like a global problems pane. So every single tab has will list the problems or the language problems or the syntax problems that exist with your TMDL script. So we reused all of that. So everything that's actually the experience that you get in VS Code should be the same, and it will be the same.
All right, I got to ask the question, Rui and Matt. Is this like Monaco-esque editor, right? So something that I love using in Monaco is Control L and Control Shift D, or Control Shift L and Control D to select multiple items. Can I do multiple cursors here? Is this something that I can do inside this editor? Looks like you're trying to show me, Rui, that maybe it'll work.
I will let Matt answer that.
Or hang on, Matt. Let me get your audio on there. There you go.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, no. You can pull up the command pane there, and or the command palette at the top. All the shortcuts that you would get by default with typical VS Code or Monaco style editor are there.
Love it.
So yeah, you should have all that.
So all the amazing keyboard shortcuts, like editing multiple lines at the same time.
Okay, so this is one thing I always use to talk about people. If you're a pro developer and you want to wow and impress your friends, go into any editor inside desktop, start dropping down multiple cursors and editing things. There's nothing more impressive than seeing someone use those key commands to do massive edits very quickly, which I think is super fun. It's particularly around the measures. I think sometimes when I'm in measures.
Let's look at that.
Perfect.
Let's say I want to create a batch set of measures into this in the table fact costs.
Perfect.
Of course, I can go to the model view. I can create the measures there, and as you know, the experience there, it can be a little bit laggy because every time you create something, it will create a transaction. So it can slow you down. So if you know what you need to do in terms of creating of a new measure, or if you already have a measure that you want to reuse, because you can always like script clipboard, and you can copy, and you will get the measure definition into a script, so you can reuse that. But let's start from scratch, and let's even use the IntelliSense like measure, and let's call it M1 for simplicity. And in here we will do a sum fact costs quantity for my measure. And now let's start using those amazing keyboard shortcuts. Let's use first the Shift Alt and create three measures, just like that. And now I have 3 measures. And of course that I have, again, the diagnostics jumping in here, telling me that I have 2 measures with the same name. I cannot have that. So let's make a quick change. So now measure 1, measure 3. On measure 2, let's make a change to use another column, shipping costs. And in here, I'm going to use the unit cost for that. And now let's also, I want to add a format string into every single measure. So I can press the Alt key, and I press the 3 lines at the same time. I press enter, and now I am going to put a format string, and I can even use again the IntelliSense.
Oh man!
And on the format string, I can say, okay, let's $, pound, or something like this. Well, yeah, something like this, and I have the format string. And let's keep going. Let's put the display folder, for example. And again, and on this one, I don't have I want to use a different display folder like base 2. So this is exactly the advantage, and that's why we say that the Tyndall view can make you more efficient, because if you are comfortable in using Tyndall and using a code editor, you can make this batch set of changes and make really use of those keyboard shortcuts to allow you to do things just faster. Okay. Of course, that now you don't get. There are some trade-offs. For example, we do not yet have like DAX IntelliSense. This is something that we do want to support in the Tyndall language, and it will work the same in VS Code as well. But if your intent is to create a batch set of measures and configure a set of properties for each measure, you can get a lot of efficiency here.
Rui, help me understand too. So I know in measures, when I write them, sometimes I get multi-line measures. I may write a variable, I might have a return statement in there. How does this Tyndall format work with that as well? Does it make it easy for me to do that as well?
Yeah, you just need to enter a new line, and now you create a like bar X, something like this, and now you have a multi-line DAX.
Oh, I love it. And again, it's more about the formatting of it, right? So what Tyndall is doing here is it's saying, hey, if you're going to make a measure and it's going to equal something, you just need to tab it over a bit further. This feels a lot, in my opinion, a lot like Python, where the formatting and the spacing of which line things align on really matters to the Tyndall format.
Yeah. And one thing I want to make clear: everything I've done so far, nothing gets applied to my semantic model. So if I go to my fact costs table, I don't have any measures in here. So everything that you do in the script, it's not applied until you hit apply, until you execute the create or replace. So and you can even work on the script, start working on a script today, and you are not ready yet, and then tomorrow you open the file, the script will be there, and you can continue working on it. And when you are ready, you can hit apply, and this is where in a single transaction it will apply this script to the table, and it will create those 3 measures in less than a second. And boom, here we are, and we have the measures. And let's say I make a change, I will put this as XXX and apply again. You see, it's instant because we are not affecting any data. We are not refreshing anything on the UI other than the model explorer. So that's also a very good principle of Tyndall view, is to be as fast as possible and give you like a really fast experience into applying changes to the semantic model.
We have an interesting question coming in from the chat here on YouTube. Someone's asking, in time, or as this future kind of matures and as Matt takes on all these new tasks, the dreaming that you're doing, Rui, for Matt, as you're dreaming more, Rui, here, will there be able to have more IntelliSense around? We did show that earlier. There is some level of IntelliSense already, but what about proposing like what a table name should be, or what column names? And I guess I'm also thinking here, for me, selfishly, I'm wondering, will there be something I could run to help me write descriptions for things as well? So this may be where we're verging on a little bit of the edge of maybe Copilot solves some of these problems. Maybe you guys can speak about maybe a bit of your vision for where you see some of these other aids coming into Tyndall Editor.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with the IntelliSense. And what's the vision there? So the vision for Tyndall is to provide you to give you a great semantic modeling as code experience, and that means that we do want to have full IntelliSense. We do want to, let's say, if you put a wrong table in here, we will have a squiggle saying that this is a wrong table. If you put the measure in here, you will have a right click and go to definition, and it will take you to the definition of that measure. So we want to give you, just like in any programming language, we want to give you a great experience to develop from scratch or edit a semantic model just using Tyndall. That's the vision. Okay? I think that we are 80%, 90% there, but when we have all those like IntelliSense, go to definition, even things like change all occurrences and refactoring, you can, like, you script a measure and do a refactor to rename another measure that is being referenced in that measure, and you will see that it will make that change in another script file, for example. So we want to provide you like a great semantic modeling experience, and that's on the IntelliSense or autocomplete question.
Okay.
On the second question, like generating things and making your work, like, again, being lazy by default, that's the Copilot thing. That's where we have a Copilot vision that, just like GitHub Copilot, and actually you can get today with the PBIP, you can already get a feeling of how that looks like. You can even go and open a prompt and ask things like rename things for me or generate measures for each numeric column. It will work. The LLMs are already, even without the knowledge of Tyndall, they are already pretty smart to understand the patterns and build things for you. So we want to have that straight into Power BI desktop as a Copilot experience, just like a Fabric Copilot experience, that you don't need to use VS Code, and you can just get a similar experience inside of desktop. And things like translations, generating a translation, automatically translating a semantic model into a new language, or setting descriptions across all objects. So things like that are will be the skills that this Tyndall View Copilot will be really good at doing.
All right, I'm Matt. I sorely apologize here because I am also a dreamer as well as Rui. We like to think up random things, but when you mentioned, Rui, like, define this measure, right? I think in my mind here, one of the features that I really enjoy about using the DAX query view is I can define a measure and I can define all of its dependencies inside the DAX query view. Is that something that we're looking at maybe in the future here, that would be potentially define this measure in DAX query view and reference all of its dependencies as well? I mean, are you thinking across parts of this tool? How could I jump back and forth between DAX query view and Tyndall Editor?
So the interoperability between DAX query view and Tyndall view, definitely. This is something that we want to do. So we want to let you, let's say you are in DAX query view, you have a measure in here that you are defining or running a query, and now, okay, right click and show me this measure in Tyndall view, and and that's from the DAX query view to Tyndall view. And at the same time, from Tyndall view to DAX query view, like generate a query for this measure or generate a query for this table. Those are things that are definitely on the horizon. It's also really important for you guys to share that feedback, because we have many things on the horizon and we have limited resources. So you have a share feedback, put them over here. So feel free to click it, share your feedback, the good things, the bad things, and the things that you would like to see. It will also help us on getting the right prioritization here.
Excellent. Any other use cases, Rui? Where do you see the most solid use cases in your world around another? And sorry, one other question I had here before I go to that point was, you were mentioning earlier that this is saved inside the PBIP format of this file. So I've written a script. I may want to come back to it, modify it later. I mean, this is a way of keeping consistent creation of elements either across models or in this one model alone. Where does this go? Can I see it in the PBIP format? Does this become a file somewhere? Where would I see this stored inside the PBIP format?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first, it will work fine with PBIP or PBIX. So it's not just for PBIP. So right now I'm actually working on a PBIX. I don't have a PBIP. And as you know, a PBIX is just a single file. So this means that the TMDL scripts, they will be saved inside of that PBIX file, which is OpenXML, a zip file. Now, if you save it as a PBIP, we go File, Save As, and let's go into the developer mode and save as a PBIP. Now I'm in a Power BI project, so I'm no longer saving to a PBIX, I'm saving to a PBIP. And if you open the semantic model folder of your PBIP, you will see that now you have a TMDL scripts folder. And inside of the TMDL scripts folder, all the scripts that you created in desktop, they will be in here. So this can be checked in source control if you want. It can be excluded. It is something that is up to you, but they get saved. So basically the TMDL scripts, they are part of the semantic model definition in Fabric.
That's excellent. Good news on that one as well. Any other features we should be knowing about? What other cool use cases do you see here, Matt, or even in Rui?
So there are many, but let me highlight a few. So first, one that I already briefly talked about is that you can use TMDL View as an editor to things that you don't even have an editor, a UI in desktop, like creation of perspectives or editing a perspective or editing a translation. You can just script. And if you want to make a change into this perspective, like remove a measure from a perspective, you make that change in TMDL and you apply it back, and now the perspective does not have that measure, doesn't have that measure anymore. So you can edit things and objects that you don't have an editor today in Power BI desktop. That's one. Another one is you can also edit properties of objects that you also don't have an editor. One example is this. I don't know if you use this, but this is very common if you have a lot of Excel users. It's the detailed rows definition. That basically on a measure, if you are using Excel and you double click on that measure, it will open a table. So you can customize the DAX query that you will run for that measure.
Oh wow!
Up until now, the only way you could use that or set this this property is using an external tool or saving as a PBIP and going in edit the TMDL directly. Now you don't need to do it. Now you can just set the detailed row definition property for that measure. You apply it, and then you can test it. You can even go to DAX query view and do like a detailed. I think is detailed rows. I hope I get this right. Like M2.
Wow, I didn't even know this existed.
This executes the detailed rows expression for that for that measure. And let's make a change, like multiply by 20. This one, apply, go back, and here we go. So it's
wow.
Updating the column. So it gives you a good way to change those non-editable properties without using an external tool. And talking about external tools, I want to make this really, really clear, because I saw when we launched the feature yesterday, there were some comments like, hey, this is a competitor to Tabular Editor. No, it's quite the opposite. So we actually want to have, we will have that Tyndall scripts as part of Tom. Then Tabular Editor can do even more things. They can also have Tyndall scripts in Tabular Editor. The things that we want to do actually with Tyndall View is to not force and force customers to use an external tool as the only way. Okay, that's a goal. So the goal is, if you can edit anything from the semantic model. You don't need to anymore to go to an external tool to do such a change. Everything from the semantic model is editable. But the goal is to actually, everything that we do on the pro dev space also allows Tabular Editor and other external tools to do more things. Okay, but the fact that I never liked was the fact that we forced customers into using that, and that's not the value of Tabular Editor. Tabular Editor, the value is providing like a 100% pro dev experience. That's not what we do in Power BI Desktop. It's a more like low code self-service tool, but with Tyndall View, we also want to bring some of those some more pro dev experiences into Power BI Desktop, again without forcing all the pro devs to use Tabular Editor. Then it's just a choice that you need to make.
This feels like an interesting feature gap between, if I had, like, I'm just thinking out here, in my mind, what's the use case for detailed rows definition? What's the use case for editing perspectives in desktop? How many people, like, what's the size of that audience of, like, man, we really need to edit perspectives? I'm guessing the size of that audience is much smaller than I need to create a measure. I need to, edit the model view. Like, those are needs that are much more prioritized because there's a larger amount of people wanting to consume this. Yeah. This solves all those little edge case scenarios of, I just need, again, to your point, I need to make a tweak here or there, or anything that is exposed to the semantic model, I can then easily go in and then modify those directly.
Actually, awesome. Yeah, for example, if you go to the documentation of the personalized visuals, our documentation, we actually need to say this, like a feature that leverages perspectives are the personalized visuals. So the personalized visuals in the service leverage perspectives, and perspectives is something that existed even before Power BI. It's from analysis services, and we had to have this in the documentation. Like, you need to use Tabular Editor to edit and create those perspectives. So this is one of the gaps that we want to close with Tyndall View. It's okay. Yes, it's not as friendly as having a full UI to edit the perspectives. We know that, and maybe we will do it if we get the enough feedback about that. But at least you have Tyndall View, and you don't need to. We don't need to force the customer to go to an external tool to edit something that is perfectly supported and actually needed for a feature like the personalized visuals.
Awesome. I've snagged that link that you went to, Rui, and that will also be, for those on the video, that'll be in the chat window as well. And I'll also make sure I include that in the comments, the description of this video. For people to go check out where are perspectives used and how they are used to help you aid simplifying that user customization on the visual level. Excellent.
Okay. And so we already covered one of the use cases, like just explore the semantic model, or we covered two use cases. So we started with just explore the semantic model, then control, so changing properties that are not even, that does not even have a UI option or a UI editor in Power BI Desktop. And now let's go into and we also talked about the efficiency of the code editors and how can that make you more efficient into your semantic modeling. Again, if you are comfortable with code, if you are comfortable with Tyndall. Now, another use case, and also on the efficiency. So, for example, and I'm pretty sure if you are a seasoned Power BI developer, you have encountered something like this, where you have a semantic model, but maybe you inherited that semantic model from another team or from another company, whatever, and you have a naming convention that you don't like. So you have something like this, where all the dim table, all the tables, they are prefixed with dim, all the facts, they are prefixed with facts, or whatever the naming convention is, and hopefully it's a consistent naming convention, but let's assume that. and you want to get rid of this. You want to make a change, and you want to remove the dim underscore and the fact underscore from all the tables. And in this example, it's like there are 7 tables in here, so I can actually do that faster. I can also do that straight from the UI, so it's fine. But imagine that you have like 100 tables or 50 tables, like the amount of time and the amount of clicks that you need to do such a thing. Now, what you can do with TMDL is you can script the full model. Remember, you can script any object, including the model itself. So in here, you will see the full model definition, everything that represents that semantic model, all the tables, all the measures, everything. And then you can just do Control H, and you find, and you search for dim underscore, pipe, fact underscore, and you say that this is a regular expression because this is Monaco editor. So you have that all the good things that comes with Monaco editor. So you say that this is a regular expression. And of course, if this was a real world example, I would probably validate if this is hitting the right things. I could even extend this regular expression to a more complex thing, to a more complex one. But in this case, I know that this will work. So I just replace everything, replace all. And now, again, I have my script. I can validate all my script before applying. And I can also tell you that one thing that we are shipping that we will do in the upcoming release, you will have a preview button, just like the ALM toolkit. You'll get,
nice.
Okay, tell me what I'm going to change in my semantic model. That's going to be amazing. Really excited about that. So thank you, Matt. And when I hit apply, look, in less than a second, like insanely fast, I just replaced all my model. I just made that batch change in a single transaction. And of course that we changed the partition. So you see these warnings over here. So it means that because we are changing the entire partition, the data gets deleted because the partition name changed. But after you refresh, the warnings will go away. So just find and replace. How useful this is. Just to find and replace. How can this help you a lot, especially when you want to do like a bulk change over the entire semantic model, or find something in the entire semantic model. You can just script and find, and if you want, replace.
A question around this one, Rui. Like, let's imagine I'm here at this level. Are you able to put tables into folders as well? Is that an option that you get?
So tables into folders, no, because the PowerBI desktop does not support that, and you don't have a display folder for tables. So
for tables, okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I go back against when I do, I like having dimensions and facts, so it's easily making it segmentable by different folders. Does the semantic model support folders by tables? Is that something that supports just desktop doesn't do? Is that just not a feature we could get?
No, that's something we do not support today, and even in AS and also in PowerBI desktop. But that's there. I'm pretty sure that there are some idea already published.
Well, I'm gonna have to go over to ideas.fabric.com and go throw some ideas down on that one. Excellent, very cool.
So search and replace. That's another very interesting use case. Another use case that I like a lot about TMDL is we will never touch we will never like impact the data, other than if you change the partition name, then that partition is the previous partition is deleted. So when we create a new one, so the data gets cleared. But other than that, every change that you do, we will never refresh things for you. So the mental model of TMDL is you are in control. So this means that if you want to change a Power Query expression, and let's say you want to make a change to a filter condition in your Power Query expression, you are good with M code and you know what to do. Today in Power BI desktop, you need to go to Transform Editor, to the transform data. You need to make the change, and you are forced to make a refresh. So with TMDL, we do not force you to make a refresh. So let's say you want to change the server name, and you know that this is the correct server name, but you do not want to refresh. Again, you don't want to wait a couple of minutes to refresh, but you just want to make that change and apply that change. So you can do that. You will see that nothing will change in the table. So if you go and you see the table will still have the data, and you can even publish. You don't have that apply changes that you see on if you go and you do that in the transform data, and you can publish that to the service and then refresh that in the service. Or when you are ready, then you can always refresh. But the thing that I want to point out is whatever the change that you do in TMDL, we are not going to force you. We are going to give you control, and we are not going to force you either to refresh or reload your data. So it's up to you if you want to do that.
I just encountered this issue literally within the last couple of days, where I was taking a single semantic model and I was moving it between tenants. I had multiple tenants I was managing, and so taking a semantic model, and again, this example here is lake houses are going to be different in every environment, right? Dev, test, prod. Those lakehouse references would likely have a different GUID or unique ID. And if you want to quickly move models between different environments, this is an area where I would want to go into the partition itself, modify the connection string, or even change those steps, and immediately have that be able to look at a different location. And publishing it without having to refresh the data first is great. This is actually really good for pro developers who are working in other environments. I can work on something local with some sample data, and then when I'm ready to publish to the service for a customer, I can just swap out the connection strings and then have it go run in the customer's environment. So this is actually a really neat feature. I didn't know you could do that, and this is going to solve my problem that I was dealing with 2 days ago. So excellent, good to know.
Great, it just made my day with that. And another more advanced scenario, and you will need to make sure that your Power Query is foldable into the data source. But one thing that you cannot do today is you cannot switch the import mode between import and direct query. So once you create a table in direct query, it will stay in direct query. And once you create an import, it will stay in import. Actually, you can go from direct query to import, but you cannot go the other way around.
Gotcha.
So within the view, you can change the mode. So let's say I have this table over here, the employee. This has a Power Query, an M code that queries a table in my SQL database, and this is an import table, right? I can see all the data in here, but I actually want to test do a performance impact of this table in direct query. So I can just switch the imports to direct query, and I hit apply, and now my table just become, you can even see the different island over here, just become a direct query table. And if I create a new report with that table, now this is a direct query query. If I turn on performance analyzer, I would see that direct query query. And I can do my tests, and when I'm done, I do my performance analysis. Oh, okay, let's switch back to import. You go to the table script, you change the import mode and the mode to import, and hit apply, and boom, you are done. And now it's back into being an import table, and you can refresh it. So the level of control that you get in here, and of course that you can even do things like, okay, I have my table in import. Oh, okay, let me create a new table. Let's call it employee 2. You need to remove the lineage tag because you cannot have 2 tables with the same lineage tag. So remove or generate a new lineage tag. And let's have one in direct query and another one in import. Hit apply. And now I have my new table. Getting an error. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to have 2 measures with the same name. So let's get rid of the measures here and hit apply. This is also another interesting thing about TMDL. You can create new tables. So now I have my new table over here, and this table is using direct query.
That's cool. Wow, this is becoming very pro dev centric. This is so neat.
Yeah, and I want to call out my favorite use case. But before doing that, Matt, is there anything I missed or I did not show that you want to talk about?
Actually, there's one that I would say kind of it brings together the Power Tyndall, VS Code, and desktop with Tyndall View kind of all together. One thing, and I've probably been in other sessions, is that Tyndall is very, very friendly for diffing and source control. And one of the ways I love to use this all the time, I use it in conjunction with VS Code and the extension. They're two different paradigms, essentially. Tyndall View is more scripting, and then VS Code is more, just like code, right? But when you create a PBIP and all your Tyndall files are saved down there, you open that up in VS Code on the side. Anytime you're making a change to something, if it's get source controlled, you can just open up VS Code and do the diffs. And you can see how it's going to change your model. Now, the thing Rui mentioned earlier, which really excited about this feature that we're working on, is the preview capability, which gives you a lot of that control as well inside desktop. So, but yeah, so the ability to do diffing, see exactly how the changes that you're scripting up affect the model, those are really kind of powerful scenarios for when you're really trying to, I don't know how many times, you go in, you modify a script, try it, and you keep changing things, and you forget where you were at the beginning and what all you've changed sometimes. And so it's a really nice feature.
It sounds also, Matt, like what you're describing there a little bit is a feature around like when I have multiple developers. Like some of these models get quite large, and there's many times it's not just a single developer on the model. They potentially could be 2 or 3 engineers making various changes to different parts of the model. I own one fact table, someone else owns a different fact table. We both simultaneously could be making changes. Sounds like the Tyndall format here also helps you aid you with, okay, let's check my changes against what Matt you were making. Oh, I can pull down your changes into my model, update my model based on your changes now, and then the diff features is huge. I think this is a massive win.
Yep.
Yeah, and today you can get this experience just straight from the PBIP. So even before the Tyndall View. And as Matt said, we also want to bring that experience, especially when you do a script and you do a bunch of changes, to preview those changes and see those diffs in Power BI desktop.
Love it. This is a really cool feature. I'm very excited to see this one. I hope the preview feature, Matt, is high on the backlog. I can't set the priority here, but I hope you're prioritizing that highly on the list. It would be really fun to see the diffs on things here as well. This is awesome. I got a question here from the audience here. Greg is asking, can you make a change in the Tyndall view that are not supported by Power BI Desktop? So to Greg's point, Greg, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. Your example here, create multiple partitions in a single table. Is there more desktop hardening coming with that? But yes, I believe the answer is yes, you can modify those as needed, and it will let you do edits that are above the scope of what desktop normally lets you do. Also editing perspectives, editing lineage tags. We kind of covered that a little bit earlier, but all of those items are existing and will let you do things like, and Rui here is building a second partition.
Yeah, but let's hold on that. So yes, you can change annotations, lineage tags, all of that, and that's fine. That's already hardened in desktop.
Okay.
Now, the partitions are not yet hardened. We are working on that. Actually, the team is working right now on making that hardened. And so, what will happen if you try to do such a thing today in Tyndall View? If you try to do such a thing, because you can do it, because it's a code editor, you can just create multiple partitions. It's valid Tyndall, it's valid analysis services. If you try to do that, and I hope that this does not crash, because I detected a bug actually this morning. Yeah, great. So you'll get an error. So you'll get a failure. So that change did not apply. You click to the show details, and we will tell you that the model validation failed. You have tables with multiple partitions. Now, this is something that we want to change, and we are changing it. We want the vision here, and I'm going to publish today or tomorrow a deep dive blog post in the Power BI blog about Tyndall View, where I will call that out as the what's next and things that we are doing after the public preview or during the public preview. This is one of those, is to we want to allow you to open any semantic model in Power BI Desktop that is running in Fabric. If you have a semantic model that is running in Fabric, it may have multiple partitions. It may have data sources. We want you to be able to open those models in Power BI Desktop. That's another situation where today, if you have a model with multiple partitions, you are forced to use an external tool or Visual Studio if you want. With Tyndall View, we will make Power BI Desktop, and we will invest quite a bit in the hardening part to make Power BI Desktop to be fine with those models. Like, you can have a model with multiple partitions, and this is still TBD. Okay, so don't bind me on what I'm about to say, but there might be experiences that will be disabled when you do such a thing. For example, you create multiple partitions. Desktop is not ready yet, does not have an editor of multiple partitions in the PQ editor. And maybe it will never have, because that's a more pro-dev experience. That's not something that the self-service user cares about, like creating multiple partitions. I don't care. I just have one partition that make things simpler for me. But the transform data will maybe disabled that table from the PQ editor, the table that has multiple partitions, but you will still have to, you will at least have Tyndall View to edit those multiple partitions. So that table will be the query of the table. The semantic model, like creation of measures and relationships, they might just work in the model view. But the authoring of the query, you need to go to Tyndall View to make a change in the query, which I think is fair. But the ultimate goal on the hardening part is to just make Power BI Desktop okay with such a models. And yes, if the follow-up question is what about external tools, the work that we are doing for Tyndall View will be applied for external tools as well. So this means that once we do this for Tyndall View, then you can open Tablet Editor and create multiple partitions, and Desktop will adapt the same way that it adapts today with Tyndall View when you create a multiple partitions, or when we allow you to create multiple partitions.
So it sounds like, again, maybe if I interpret Greg's question a little bit differently here on the follow-up here. Today we have current limitations in external tools. Does Tyndall View adhere to the same limitations as those external tools? And as Tyndall View becomes more robust and is hardened more, both Tyndall View and external tools are going to get more functionality. Is that kind of what you're saying, Rui?
Yeah. So today the Tyndall View, if you go to the PBIP docs in here. If you go to the documentation of the Power BI project, you will see this table, model authoring over here. So everything that we support on the file change, it's going to be supported in Tyndall View. For example, you can create tables, you can change tables. So right now, you cannot create tables using an external tool. So that's not yet hardened, but that's also part of the hardening work that we need to do that we are going to do. And then in the end, that ultimately, whatever, if you create from Tyndall View or if you come from external tool, it will work. But the one that you need to care about, if you want to know what is supported today for you to change using Tyndall View, it's this file change column over here. Everything that is in here, it's the same way that everything that you can do with the PBIP, you can also do it with Tyndall View.
Wonderful. Great. Good to know.
Okay, so can I go to my favorite use case of Tyndall View?
Let's go to the favorite one. Yes. Saving the best for last.
So my favorite use case of Tyndall View is sharing and reuse. Because if you noticed, I'm scripting things, and I have a script that can create and can change semantic model objects in my semantic model. So this means that you can, for example, you are writing a blog, and there was an amazing blog from Zoe Douglas when Zoe shipped the calculation groups, where she was actually showing how to create a calculation group, which is great because she was showing the feature how to create a calculation group. But in the end, she could say, "Hey, here's a Tyndall script. with the calculation, with the definition of the calculation group that I created in my blog, if you want to create that in your model and you want to see how it looks like, just copy and paste that Tyndall script and apply it in your semantic model. And that's one scenario. Like the community in books and in blogs, they can share Tyndall scripts with their readers, so they can easily apply things in their models. And also, let's also think on the scenario of a team. Like I'm working on with a team of developers. You can have like a SharePoint site, whatever sharing site you like to use, or it can even be in Git, where you can have Tyndall snippets. And what is a Tyndall snippet? A Tyndall snippet is a Tyndall script that will create something, and it can be like my team definition of a calendar table that I can, whenever I'm starting a new model from scratch, I can take this calendar table and run it in my model to create something, to create that calendar table in my model. It can be the measures table, like that technique that everyone uses, that has a measure, a dummy table with all the measures in it, and it will have the standard way that in my team, I want to make sure that my developers will follow. That instead of using Power Query, I will just use a calculated table. So let's create this measures table in my model. So I can just copy, go to Tyndall view, create a new script, paste the code, review it. Once we have the preview, we can even see whatever we are going to create, apply. And now I have my measures table created for me.
Nice.
Or, for example, a better example, actually, like a time intelligence calculation group. That example from Zoe that creates that that depends on the calendar table. So I need to make sure that my model has a calendar table, or the calendar table with the same name, with the same names of the script, and I create a new one, I paste it, and I hit apply, and I just like that, I have my full calculation group with the full definition
Wow.
of the calculation group created for me. Because creating, for example, a calendar table like this, it's very different from for example, the scenarios that you see today online, that, okay, create a calendar table from a DAX. Here's the DAX statement to create a calendar table, or here's the Power Query code to create a calendar table. That's different, because when you create a calendar table using a calculated table, it won't get you the semantic model definitions, like the sort by, the summarize by. With Tyndall scripts, you get the full semantic model definition. You get all the summarize by configurations, all the sort by configurations. Everything will be here and share, and you can share that and reuse that very, very easily on semantic models. So for me, this is a killer feature in terms of it's the first time that we support in Power BI Desktop an easy way to share snippets or share semantic model objects between instances of Power BI Desktop. The final example is you want to move a table from one semantic model to the other. So you can just script on one window and apply it in another window. And those are the types of scenarios of reusability and share and scripting that I think are will be very, very interesting. And now the community, whenever you are talking about DAX or semantic modeling, and you are showing how to create something, you can just share a script in the end and say, run this, and you get exactly the same thing.
Awesome. This is really cool. I foresee a number of Git repos showing up here pretty soon. I'll probably have to go build one here on Power BI Tips shortly for Tyndall scripts and scripting elements here that people can go borrow and buy and get from the download, use, incorporate in your designs here. And I'll have to start with Zoe's initial script, a calculation script. This is really powerful. Wonderful. Yeah, any other feature pieces? We are good on questions. A lot of people are very excited about the Tyndall scripts. Donald is saying, yeah, calendar is obvious for Tyndall scripting things, but the calculation group seems very powerful as well. We're getting comments like, this can be our true actual dimensional modeling. that we get in the future here. So this is really being able to build a data warehouse that could have reusable elements. This is the first time we're going to start seeing this. Very impactful. Anything else as we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, so again, I'm pretty sure there are many others, but those are at least the ones that I think are the most important ones. Again, I will publish a blog post either today or tomorrow with a few more scenarios in there. But again, really excited to see the feedback. Again, please share any feedback that you have. It's really easy. Just go and you have this share feedback button in the feature itself. You just need to click it, and please share your feedback, what you like, what you don't like, what works, what does not work, and what we should do next, or you think you feel strongly about. This will help us out on the prioritizations.
Well, I'm definitely going to go in there. I'm going to give Matt a raise because we want to make sure he's happy and builds the next new preview feature. We really want that next. That sounds like a really good feature. So really love this. This is a great demo. Rui, thank you so much for walking us through this solution. I anticipate there's going to be more demos, solutions. We should do more videos around specific use case and scenarios here around this. This is awesome. Pat's very excited about this one. Matt, thank you so much for participating and leading the team here to really get this stuff done and executed out the door. Yeah, it didn't come at Christmas time, but I'm very happy the present arrived a couple weeks late. So extremely pleased about how this is going to turn out. So thank you very much. Really appreciate our presenters. Chat, if you have any other needs here, there's a couple other video links you may want to check out as well. Sid, another team member, is also doing some really great work inside the VS Code extension for TMDL. That video link is also in the description and in the chat as well. So Rui, thank you so much. Nat, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it today. Have a great week, and we're looking forward to those other new blogs that are coming out. So we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Thank you, audience, for joining us. We had a record number of people joining us live today, so thank you for that as well. And we'll see you next time. We'll bring some more tips and tricks around all these new features coming out in desktop. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next time.